Hi, this is Rob Russen, pro boxing and wrestling promoter, manager, and consultant. Watching Tarryn TV.
Hey everybody, welcome to GoTarryn TV. It's Tarryn, traveling trainer here in episode 470. We have returning for part 2 of our segment series, the CEO of Formula G18, Mr. Rob Russen from Cape Coral, Florida. How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for and seeing you. And
we've had a lot of great feedback from last week's interview. I want to again thank you for that opportunity. You want to talk about the wrestling portion of my? Is that what we explain? From the time I was a little kid, which was long before you were born, back in the days of black and white TV, my grandfather, father, and I used to sit around and watch pro wrestling on black and white TV every Saturday, based out of the Pittsburgh area, which of course is the hometown of legendary Bruno Sammartino. And they would yell and scream and holler at the TV as though they were there in person. So it became very much a part of my upbringing. And they became heroes in my of the world of professional sport. Around 1976, I had decided to leave the professional entertainment business due to egos and attitudes and go into things that I like in wrestling. As you know, pro wrestling tends to be like a closed fraternity. You need an invitation of some sort to become part of it in any capacity. And when I was first interested, I found most doors were closed because I didn't have a history or a background, and you know all about kayfabe, so it was difficult to get my foot in the door. Though I did get to meet Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, who runs a great pro called the Monster Factory, which has turned out many, many top professional wrestlers, and Gorilla Monsoon, who was having some problems with the McMahons at that time and was considering leaving and starting his own group. So they were both encouraging me to become a promoter, and they took me under their arms and taught me the business in a very classy, professional manner that I will be forever grateful for. So in 1976, I started promoting professional wrestling. Did very well. In fact, from the very beginning till today, as a promoter, I have never lost a dime on any professional wrestling show I've ever done. I've always had ways of marketing it and making it successful, where the sponsors made money, the fans went away happy, and the reputation of my NWF, which was the group back in the 70s and 80s, 90s, and then Wally, who founded the AWA for Vern Gagne, approached me when I was working there as the National Director of Sales and Promotions. And he said, Rob, this is like the ship is going down. Would you be interested in coming with me and starting a new group? We'll call it the IWA, and we'll run it like an NFL program. We'll get financial investors who are fans, who want to be involved, who want to do meet and greets and come to the shows and get to know the wrestlers. And sounded like a great idea, and he certainly had a great track record and reputation. So I was honored that Wally chose me to be his partner in the new endeavor. That was in 1989, and I moved to Florida, and we started the IWA. We had a contract with Comcast Cable, Sunshine Sports, and through Sunshine, our programming went to DirecTV nationwide, and we were also on Sports Channel America. So as an independent, I had 3 national television contracts going on at the same time, and it appeared on I was competing with WWF at the time and NWA or WCW at the time, but it was just a small independent promotion at the time. But we used big name stars, And I think I sent you a list of many of them and a lot of pictures. But we've worked with Bruiser Brody, Sergeant Slaughter, Sting, Diamond Dallas Page, Dusty Rhodes, Abdullah the Butcher, Rock and Roll Express, Colonel De Beers, Chief Jules Strongbow, Kevin and Kerry Von Erich, Jerry Lawler, One Man Gang, Missy Wahoo McDaniel, Paul Heyman, the Road Warriors, Shawn Michaels, Lex Luger, Steve Kern, Steamboat. That's only half of the page, half of one column.
Amazing.
I mean, it's like a hall of fame of big-time star wrestlers. And we always stressed family entertainment. We wanted mom and dad to be able to bring the kids to see the show, to enjoy the show, the same way I was indoctrinated into the sport as a youngster myself. And we traveled the world. We've done tours to Europe, South America, Australia, Canada. Pro wrestling has a universal appeal from 3 to 93, and as long as it's done right, it will always be done that way. But sometimes it gets a little out of kilter. Vern Gagne told me once that the business had peaked and would have to before it could be rebuilt. And he said the problem is that it's gone away from what it says on the marquee outside, pro wrestling, into gimmicks and things to the ring and high flying, crashing into chairs and tables outside of the ring had nothing to do with what the real true nature of the sport was. And he said that WWE needs to crash before we can rebuild it. And back in those days also, wrestling was run like the mafia. There were territories. And that was a good thing for the workers because they could move from one territory to another territory, remain fresh in that new market. They didn't wear themselves out, didn't stay too long, and they were able to travel around. And the promoters worked together, sharing, but they had their own protected territory. Then when Vince McMahon Sr. died, Junior got green and said, the world is my territory. And he started going into the other territories, into their venues, pilfering their talent, and just taking over the business, which led to him becoming a billionaire when the company went public. But it kind of put a hurt on the wrestling business. Without the independent territories, how does young blood get a chance? You go to school, you learn the right way, but you need the opportunity to put it to practice. And most of the indie promotions dried up. There just wasn't enough opportunity for TV exposure, which is actually the nature of what makes it successful. Off of what they give away free on TV builds the people buying tickets to go to the gate to see the final conclusion of the event or to buy pay-per-view. Pay-per-view has gotten kind of out of hand because what used to be special with a once or twice a year WrestleMania type, a monthly event, and fans have gotten tired of paying top dollar. That's kind of tapping into the economy at a time when the economy's having its troubles. So I'm not sure that that's in the best of the business, but Vince continues to be on, and Hunter's doing a good job running the company, and they just packed the Dallas Cowboys WrestleMania, and they make a big weekend event out of it now that is kind of spectacular for the fan to go and spend a weekend and go to all the exhibits and the meet and greets and get the chance to pose for pictures with the legend of the past is truly special. It was never like that when I was young. Wrestlers kept their distance from the public because they wanted to maintain kayfabe, but all that's changed now, and guys are literally entertainment superstars, and that's probably good. That's probably good.
I think someone want to check YouTube with you and saying that it's definitely different.
I don't watch it on TV anymore either, so I tend to be old school. Old school was great. I'm not a big fan of having soap opera writers, scripts, and plots for the wrestling angles. I thought it was done much better before, much more realistic, and but for some reason, back in the days when WCW was feuding with Vince, that's when they started bringing in these writers, and that drastically changed the image of the business. So I guess it's because I'm not a big fan of soap operas to begin with, but there's just too many storylines that I have a difficult time following, as opposed to what I'm used to seeing in the ring and during the interviews, where the wrestler can really show his skill at doing an interview without having to read the script that's written for him, you know? I'm sad that it went that way, and hopefully one day, as Vern, it'll crash to the ground and build back up. Local territories can start up again, get local TV or regional TV, and the TV gives the exposure to the talent that takes a guy like yourself and brings you in as fresh young blood and puts you and builds you and builds you and builds you and puts you up into a co-main event or main event talent and builds your career. Without the TV, it's the old story: if a tree falls in the woods, does it really matter if no one saw it? If you don't have TV, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to get new talent. The IWA was formed in 1989 with Wally Carbo together, and agreed with the concept of, we wanted people to continue to believe in the sport as opposed to. I can give you a little insight into why Vince McMahon switched and calls it now sports entertainment. As a promoter, you have to pay taxes. In some states, there's athletic commissions. So, for example, in New York, you have normal expenses of renting the building and advertising and promoting. Then you've got your state sales tax of 7 or 8%. And the athletic commission tax in New York is an extra 9%. So when you're talking large venues like Madison Square Garden, and you're paying somewhere near 20% in taxation because they're considered sport, Vince says, well, I'm just going to expand sports entertainment and eliminate the need of going through the athletic commission. The athletic commissions used to actually send out boxing judges to the wrestling matches, and they would sit there at ringside and bring their families and get paid to judge a wrestling match. Their judging did not count part of the program, but because it was under the guidance, they had to be there. It's one thing to have cornermen and officials in the lobby, but to have judges at ringside is one of the most ridiculous things I'd ever heard. So that's why it became sports entertainment. As family entertainment, I didn't mind that as long as we were going with that program. We were basically bucking up against the ECW image at the time, which was the hardcore stuff. A lot of violence, a lot of vulgarity, a lot of blood. I have never been a fan of blood capsules and things like that. WAF show or an IWA show, that's real blood. And when fans used to ask me, oh, I would say to them, how much would I have to pay you every day? This is real blood. Bruiser Brody has real scar tissue on his forehead. Matter of fact, at one show, Brody showed up with a fresh scar down from his forehead across his. And I said, Frank, what happened? Who did that to you? He said, Abdullah. I said, on purpose, I trust him with my life. And that's the kind of bond that has to happen in the ring between each other to put on the best performance. They have to respect each other, they have to understand what creates great wrestling. That Abdullah took a fork and took it from his hairline down across his eyebrow, across his cheek. And it was just 2 days before, so the scar was very, very vivid. On the other hand, Abdullah has so much scar tissue on his forehead, you can put a silver dollar in between the grooves of the scar tissue and it'll stand there by himself. Those guys bring what is known as color to the business. And in some cases, especially in the culmination of a feud, that's believable. They'll fight all the way out into the parking lot, hotel, or wherever to really, really sell the action. That doesn't happen much today. Matches are short, high spot after high spot after high spot. And Greg Gagne used to tell me that he would grab a headlock and lay there on the mat, squeezing it until the fans bought into it. But at the same time, the boys were getting a chance to get their second. Then it works. If you give up on it too soon, then you lose the whole thing. I mean, there's so much inside psychology. Pretty boy Larry Sharp used to tell me the business is 90% psychology, 10% talent. There are a lot of talented athletes around, but if they don't understand the psychology, how you can take the crowd and put them in the palm of your hand and have them hate you one minute and love you another time, then you don't understand the business as a worker within the business. And I've had a chance to work with some great. I'm having a mind block right now. The guys who have the angles and set the matchups, like I worked with McDaniel, Ray Stevens. These guys were genius. They used all of their years of experience to create top quality wrestling. When you have script writers doing that, you don't get the same result. It might be flashy, but it's very difficult to maintain top ratings in TV today. And I guess they're struggling to do that, but Chance is using the writers. But if a writer doesn't have an understanding of the psychology of the business, how successful can they really be? You know, it's like going into the ring and you know one hold. You're in trouble. How are you going to do a 10-minute Broadway if you don't understand how to tell the story? It's all about telling a story. And I don't know that the young talent fully comprehend. I don't know that they're allowed to do that because the office tells them what to do and what to say. Right now, I'm semi-inactive. As you learned last week, I was supposed to be dead by now, so I didn't know I was still going to be around. The IWA morphed into a relationship I have created. He created Wrestle Reunion. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization, but Wrestle Reunion started in 2005 as the largest fan convention ever at that time. Normally, somebody puts together a convention like NWA in Charlotte. They'll bring in 10, 20 guys. We had more than 100 wrestlers show up to appear and sign autographs and meet and greet people and for that event. We made an agreement with a major television company to videotape everything and syndicate it. Unfortunately, that relationship went south, and all the great footage that they did is tied up in litigation and sitting on a shelf somewhere. But Wrestle Reunion did live events from 2005 until maybe 2010, all across the country, bringing in the best of the famous wrestlers with the best of the young wrestlers. And we had everybody from Bruno Sammartino as a co-promoter. Diamond Dallas Page was a co-promoter. And our host was always the guy that wrote this book. I don't know if you can see the book, but it's Bill Apter's book. And it's an absolutely tremendous book called Is Wrestling Fixed? Well, it was never broke. It don't have to be fixed. There's a great interview with Tony Atlas on YouTube going into great detail about what happened there. He was in the locker room. He saw the conversation between Brody and the executioner. Executioner asked Brody to go into the shower so they could talk privately, and that's where he stabbed Brody to death. There are many wrestlers who know about what happened, who were there, but who refused to testify. And the executioner guy, he was charged, but the case was not proven, and he was found not guilty, which to me is a cardinal sin and probably the ultimate sin in the whole history of professional wrestling, that something so outrageous occurred. What I was told by people who were there is that Brody and Abdullah owned a small piece of the territory. They were doing well. The building was sold out. Brody had not yet done his match. He was in the locker room preparing to go out, but they owed him money. And you know how some wrestlers are. If you owe them money, Brody said, pay me my money or I'm not going on. That's not an unusual approach for somebody to take when they feel they're getting screwed. And that's what Brody felt was happening, that he was getting squeezed out. And someone from the office, we know who owns the company, it was probably with his approval, sent the executioner, who was the booker at the time, in to the locker room to talk to Brody, and he had a towel wrapped around his arm. No one suspected that there was a knife underneath that. And he stabbed Brody several times and left him bleeding. Atlas was there and he saw the whole thing as far as leading up to going into the bathroom, and then when the ambulance came, what happened after the ambulance to arrive. I don't know if that was because the call was late going out, but whatever happened cost Brody any chance he had of surviving. And Frank was a friend of mine, and I have many, many, many bad feelings about what happened down there. Should never get to that point. It should never get. I mean, wrestling's a work, right? Why should it take somebody's life? Somehow things got way convoluted. Brody was a college graduate, a former professional football player for the New England Patriots, a very intelligent man. He, as The Rock used to say, know your role. He knew his role. He was one of the best heels in the business and successful in every territory he ever worked. He was a pleasure and a total professional to do business with. I spent many hours riding down the road to shows with him in my car, and we talked a lot, and I'm sad that he's gone. Yeah, good questions. Gary, at the time I started promoting, was the man with WWF ring announcing, and Dick Hurley was their top referee. When they were under contract to Vince, they were not available to do independent shows. But as soon as they became available, Gary was a good friend of Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, put us in touch, and it was our pleasure and honor to work with him. And he was the consummate professional. He had such a mannerism about him, such a voice, such a presentation. The fans loved him. It was a pleasure working with Gary. Cauliflower Alley is something I've been well aware of for a long time. I have never been invited, and I don't quite know why. I've always been, you may not have heard of me for long, I've always been the kind of guy that lets the spotlight fall on the stars. I'm the promoter, but I'm in the background. I don't want to be Vince McMahon with my face all over everything. Let the stars shine. That has always been my theory. So a lot of people don't know about me, but if they do an internet search under my Rob Russen Boxing, Rob Russen Wrestling, Rob Russen Music, there's thousands and thousands of links on there. So I don't know how they got there. I didn't put them out there, but I am infamous in that regard. And at one other point, before I went into full-time sports promotion, I was in the entertainment business. I got sued by the estate of Elvis Presley for $5 million. I found a little old lady walking around in my backyard one December snowy day, and I thought she was lost. And I said, "Can I help you?" She said, "Are you Rob Russen?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You've been served." And she served me legal papers. I had a very successful Elvis Presley tribute act called The Big L Show. We were working for Dick Clark Promotions for $20,000 a night. We were headlining in Vegas, in the showroom, on the strip, not in the lounge. We were in big demand, working major arenas all around the places where Tom Jones and Paul Anka and all these guys were performing. The Big L Show was performing there. We had 27 people on tour, and we were doing well. And then I got sued for unfair competition, like it was my fault he died. What they were doing, according to Rolling Stone magazine, there were 2,500 professional Elvis Presley impersonators at the time, and they were suing us to try to set legal precedent so they could get a license fee from all the other guys. But by that time, I was tired of the egos and attitudes of the entertainment business, and I went into boxing and promotion, things that I wanted to do for fun, and I'm a self-made brat. If I can't make money and have fun at the same time, I won't do it. The next town south from where I live now, called Norma Jean's. It was a tribute to, of course, Marilyn Monroe, the whole motif of the place. And they were rockin' club. They had people lined up 3 or 4 blocks long waiting to get in every night. Page was the consummate promoter of doing nightclub promotions. Gift of gab, he did interviews, radio and television, where he sounded like Jesse the Body Ventura promoting a nightclub. A man who had done television commentary for me with the NWF in New Jersey became friends with his and said, "You got to see this guy." At that time, I was with the AWA, And Vern Gagne had lost Hulk Hogan and lost Jesse Ventura and lost all the big stars. So he needed someone to bring some pizzazz. And I showed him the audition tape of Paige, and he fell in love with it. He had Paige come in for every TV taping, and he allowed them to bring two women with him that he called the Diamond Dolls. So Paige always strutted around with glitz and glamour and a pretty girl on each arm, and it worked. It really worked. Paige did not start wrestling or training to be a wrestler until he was 35, which is amazing.
Wow.
He became a color commentator for Florida Championship Wrestling, and while there, Dusty suggested to him, "Why don't you get in the ring?" He said, "Oh, I'm too old." He said, "No, you're not. No, you're not. You'll learn how to work, and we'll get you in the ring." And he went on to become four-time world champion. Yes, 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 yes. He's actually salvaged the life of many people, and there are current wrestlers there who have used his program when they thought their career was over. The stretching and everything that's involved in his yoga program brought new life back into their body, and they're working again, and they give him credit for that. He has come up with a truly unique, what started out as yoga for men has expanded into something that, and that guy Walter, that is his spokesperson, is a miracle story. Absolutely amazing how he has transformed his life. Paige is a motivational speaker for sure, and he's a motivational man by backing up what he says with what he does. He's in Australia now. He's down there promoting his campaign in Australia. He just left after WrestleMania. He went next day to Australia. Yes, yes, yeah.
Excellent.
And he's still going strong, still going strong.
Wow, that's amazing.
No, I haven't been to Atlanta since I was hired as WCW promoter for Florida when Gordon Soley took ill. He had some serious health issues. And when they approached me, I have such great respect for Gordon. I said I could not do this job without a full understanding that it was okay with Gordon. They told me, Jim Hurd told me, Gordon is the one who picked you as his replacement. I was blown away, flattered. I may make a visit up there in July of this year. I'm going up to Philadelphia to do some music business. I'm back in the music business as well. I now manage a group from Brazil. One day, this video showed up on my wall on Facebook of a husband and wife team called Overdriver Duo. I recommend everyone go to YouTube and look at their videos. There's two people that play multiple instruments, that sing incredible. They're world-class talent. And I got them a recording contract with a Grammy Award-winning producer-songwriter in Philadelphia named Bobby Eli. And they're going to record their first English language CD at his studio in July. They're incredible. More than 50 million people have viewed their videos online. And they don't have a hit record yet, but they soon will. They're really, really good. So I'm kind of back into the three things that have been the most important and most fun in my life. Music, on my terms. Boxing, I'm representing former WBC heavyweight champion Oliver McCall and his son Elijah, outstanding people and still active in the boxing business. And I'm getting offers to go back into the wrestling business in different degrees, including an offer last week to put together a wrestling show for Israel. I need to work on that, and they also want to do MMA, so I need to find some friends who are active in that business as well. When you have a good reputation, you treat people fairly, you do the best you can to always help people, they tend to seek you out when they want to do something and do it right, and I really appreciate that. I value my reputation in the business, and I strive hard to always do the best I can to make people happy and have a successful show and treat people well. I think if you talk to anybody that is among those I just sent you, or Gary Capetta or Paige, or they would have nothing but good things to say about me based on our personal relationship. I care about these people. I care about the business. It's not just about making money. It's about putting out a quality product that will last forever. I would love that. I'd love. Yes, yes. I look forward to seeing her next Sunday in Sarasota. Yes, yes. It's simply my name, www.robrussen.com. It has the whole history, it has my family, it has boxing, wrestling, music, all there. There is an IWA page on Facebook that has a lot of fans that follow it, and we post videos and stories about the talent. It's the talent that makes the product successful. The opportunity is provided by the promoter and the TV networks, but if the talent don't come in with the proper frame of mind and commitment to putting on the best possible show, then it's not going to be successful. There was a group called the UWF or something back in the day, and the guy was just a wreck. He didn't know the business. He didn't do it. He brought in big names, paid them a lot of money, but they didn't work as a team and didn't last. So it's important to do it right or don't do it at all. Oh yes, Formula G18 is saving lives and keeping people with hope. And that's www.formulag18.com. It's now going worldwide, and we're starting a call center next week, as a matter of fact. Going to be calling the public and introducing them to the products. Really excited about that. I look forward to it. We ought to do boxing sometime too, because I've actually written a book about boxing called 8, 9, 10, You're Out. Okay, good talking to you, my friend. Thank you. You do as well.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Rob Russen. He's a pro boxing, pro wrestling manager, promoter, music, entertainment, consultant, you name it. This guy wears a lot of hats, and also the CEO, of course, of Formula G18. If you want to learn more about Formula G18 and my interview with Rob Russen from last week, there it is on the screen. Go back to the website link at the bottom of your screen for reference's sake. It is episode 465 at www.GoTarryn.tv. And that'll wrap up another episode right here on GoTarryn TV today with Rob Russen on episode 470. We hope you enjoyed. And again, folks, we're having some amazing, cool guests right here on GoTarryn TV, so just continue to stay tuned and just keep being on the lookout because they are tremendous. And also, please make sure to like GoTarryn on Facebook, subscribe to GoTarryn on YouTube, follow GoTarryn on Twitter, and that way you'll stay connected with yours truly, Tarryn the Traveling Trainer, the master of the personal training universe from GoTarryn Personal Training, who always tells each and every one of you that it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. We'll see you on the next video blog, everybody. Bye-bye.